The Penguin season finale, maybe series finale, but season finale for now, episode 8, A Great or Little Thing. This episode was written by Lauren LaFranc, who's the showrunner, and directed by Jennifer Getzinger. Man, they did some things in this episode that I was not expecting. So, the things they were building up to in the previous episode, I mean, really the previous show, but the things they were building up to, specifically in episode 7, they did what I think they did what some people defend Last Jedi for doing, which is making you believe one thing and then completely subverting your expectations. The difference is that here, I thought it worked effectively. There, it destroyed characters. Here, it made me feel things, all kinds of different things. This episode, I'm not going to sit here and say it was shocker after shocker after shocker, but there were at least 3 or 4 moments when I was like, well, I didn't see that coming, but it wasn't in a dumb way. It wasn't in a, oh, this is contrived, or, that they're baiting and switching. No, it was more so the fact that we live in a world in this like Matt Reeves universe of Gotham, right? Where the Penguin's always been a villain, but the Penguin is dark in this show. And compared to previous Penguin portrayals, like for example, Burgess Meredith, who did really more of a clown show in the 60s Batman show with Adam West, then we have Danny DeVito, who was a dark penguin. He wanted to kill kids by the third act of that movie, the first Gotham's Firstborn, but he also had a tragic backstory. Now, this penguin also has a tragic backstory, but this one just felt a lot darker, but we also got to spend more time with him. In Batman Returns, I've always felt like Max Schreck is the real villain of that movie because he's manipulating everybody. He's the one that causes these events to go into motion. Whereas in this show, it's the Penguin that is manipulating people, including the audience. The Penguin manipulating people in this show felt like the writers manipulating us. So, it was a great show. I'm gonna have to go back and watch this entire show over again. I'm probably going to do a review. I may do a review of the entire show, like all 8 episodes, and just do like a big compact review. But when this ended, I was satisfied, but I wasn't satisfied in the sense of, okay, this was a great ending. I'd like to see more. I don't know if we have to wait till the Batman 2 because Colin Farrell has been complaining about putting on all the makeup and it's 6 hours to put it on, so I cannot blame him. But I think this show really does deserve a second season because I would like to see Oz and the Penguin deal with different obstacles going forward, like other criminals that come in, maybe even bring in the Joker to go against him. Not to have like the Penguin turn good, because that's impossible after this episode. Forget it. But to sort of have these two forces in Gotham, it doesn't have to be Joker. It could be any villain you want. And the Penguin has to deal with them, and then along comes Batman to like have to deal with both of them. So the shocker of this whole thing is that we found out that Oz's mom knew that Oz killed the other brothers, the other siblings. That was completely unexpected. We spent the first like maybe 20 minutes of this episode just felt like that. Just talking to and seeing Oz as mom and Oz as a kid. This was a good choice because it sort of revealed things. And the reality is that Oz and Francis, Penguin and his mom, are a very dysfunctional family. And they're also parasites to each other. They're very parasitic. This is not a relationship between a mother and a son that love each other. The love that they have for each other is purely based on what they can do for each other. It's almost narcissistic, almost like abusive on both ends. Oswald is an absolutely deplorable sociopath in this show. And I'm watching this show and I'm thinking they're going to kind of give us this story where Penguin is somewhat relatable. Not likable, but somebody we can relate to. But man, he makes decisions here that totally came out of but it all makes sense. especially if you go back and think about the previous episode. So there's a whole story with Frances and Oz, and she has a stroke, and then there's a bunch of stuff going on with Sophia as well. And so Sophia and Oz still have their little feud. And what ends up happening, actually, the real unsung hero of the Empire was Victor, who's always been the unsung hero. So what ends up happening is Victor ends up saving Oz by getting rid of all the other competition that was trying to get the bounty from Sophia. And they do a thing where Oz takes Sophia, and first of all, she looked great in this show. She had an outfit on that, yeah, if you've seen it, you know what I'm talking about. They make you think that Oz is going to kill her, but instead, he gave her a worse punishment. Instead, he had the cops show up and arrest her and take her back to Arkham. Now, the reason as to why this is powerful is because if you go back to the episode about Sophia and her dad, Arkham is like the worst torture for her. She'd rather be dead than go to Arkham. She hates Arkham. It represents the most painful time of her life. So Oz having her get arrested was even more of a punishment than just shooting her. That was cold, and it wasn't like something that was explained. It was very subtle. You have to look back on the episodes for it to make sense. So then we find out that Frances' stroke caused her to become basically a vegetable. And that was very sad and unexpected. Then comes the part where I could not believe my eyes. Like I said, the Sophia stuff was crazy. The stroke was crazy. Her knowing about what Oz did is crazy. When Oz chokes Victor and kills him, I said, this character cannot be redeemed. Victor is the one light in darkness. In this show, Victor is the guy who you're rooting for, not Oz. And I really thought that he would end up being Penguin's right-hand man. I thought he'd stick around. But when Penguin betrayed him after all the things that he did, it was incredible. Like, I mean, incredible that, like, it was just incredible how insane it was. Like, just how, like, I couldn't even believe it. The first thing I said was, what an absolute piece of garbage. What a horrible person the Penguin is to do that to Victor. Then they wrap everything up because Sophia ends up in Arkham and she gets a letter from the Catwoman, which is picking up with the events of the previous film. And then what happens is Oz is with this lady friend of his who's wearing his mom's dress. That was weird and creepy, and it's almost like a Psycho thing with the mom, you know, like the Alfred Hitchcock Psycho. And then there's the bat signal is the last thing you see. So no Batman in the show. I had heard he was going to be in it. I guess not. I guess that's the closest we're going to get. But I don't want to wait 2 years for Batman 2. I want another Penguin show. They're probably not going to do it, but this was a really well-written show. It was poetic in many ways. It had layers to it. The characters were all super fascinating, but it had very few genuinely good people. I think Victor, even though he fell into the criminal underworld, was one of the few good people, and look what happened to him. What a crazy episode. Definitely stuck the landing. The Penguin episode 8, absolutely phenomenal. The Batman right now, that universe with the Penguin show and the Batman show, is really, really, really fun to watch. I like the grittiness of it. I like how it's basically like real. Even more real than even the Nolan movies, I felt. This felt more real than that. So, and that's hard because, you know, Nolan really grounded Batman, but here it really feels like these characters, like they have mental disorders that are real. Like they really did a good job researching this to write these characters. Oz's and Francis' relationship is bizarre. But it sort of carried the show in a way, especially in the last half of the show. First half was more like, here's Victor, here's Sophia, this is the drug, whatever. The second half's when things got really interesting with the backstory. But yeah, episode 8 was fantastic. I want more. I want the Penguin season 2 tomorrow. That's why I said I was not satisfied, not because I didn't like it, but because I want more. Incredible show. If you have not watched it, first of all, you shouldn't be watching this because there's spoilers, but let me know in the comments what you thought, because clearly some of you guys watched it and I want to know, because this is up there with some of the best comic book television we've had in a long time. Like, it's really up there. Like, I enjoyed it. I haven't seen all of The Boys yet, so I am behind on that show, but I did enjoy this almost as much as Loki. I like Loki because I love time travel stories, don't get me wrong. This was right up there, though, because the characters here I thought were stronger and had more layers. What do you think? Let me know in the comments. I will see you guys real soon. Take care.